Hello everyone, my name is Augusto Marcondes, but please, just to make it easier for everybody, my nickname and pretty much the name that I try to imprint in the AV industry is Gus. Very easy, and that means that we all need to have a lot of guts to go through all the revolution of the AV over IP industry now. So it's a great pleasure for me to be here representing my company, Audinate, towards all the Indian market, all the professionals in this huge, massive country. I am originally from Brazil. I'm also a musician and a singer, and then I started studying and producing audio in my teenagehood. Then, of course, I tried to get more and more knowledge, done my bachelor's and my master's in AV engineering, and then I was invited to come here to this side of the world. I am in the UK right now, so England, and started working for some manufacturers. Always very passionate about digital audio over networks and also video, but we're going to be focusing on the audio parts. And invited by Shure, I am here to try bringing you a little bit of the historical information from where audio started in terms of the evolution from analog to digital, and then from digital to networked audio, which is even a bigger step. All right, so please feel free to type in your questions in the chat button. If you are already familiar with Zoom, there is a button right below here that you can see a chat option, so you can type in your questions there. If there's something very specifically that we may not be able to answer today, every time I will plug in this camera here, you can also see my email. So my email is very easy. It's Augusto, just like the month August, with an O at the end, .Marcondes. And probably you can either zoom in your screen and see at audinate.com, or feel free to send to any of our Shure partners, and then we can go through any specific cases. All right? So for today, what we did prepare is a kind of an open chat about the digital audio over network solutions. So here we go. Together with me here, I do have my friend Fali. So if you want to say hi to everyone, just talk a little bit about yourself, Fali.
Hello everyone, my name is Fali Damania. You guys have been seeing me every few days at some webinar or the other. Thanks very much for joining us. This session will be very interesting. I'm certainly looking forward to it. And just for anyone that's new to our webinars, I am Fali Damania, and I am the Market Development Manager for Professional Audio for Shure South Asia.
Cool. And sometimes I'll always be here with you inside the camera, inside the presentation, so I can point things out and tell you, looking straight into your eyes. Okay, so let's go with our material that we have prepared for today's presentation. Guys, what is Dante? Maybe if you are already a sound engineer, if you are an AV engineer, and you have been seeing this name all over the products, which makes me very happy, I will tell you the very brief history about what is Dante and who is Audinate, the company behind this wonderful protocol that is solving a lot of problems. Let's go. So guys, Audinate is a company that is headquartered in Sydney, Australia, okay? And it's basically the union of a network company that started out of the government in Australia and a lot of passionate musicians and audio engineers that were trying to solve the problem about having in the same kind of infrastructure, audio and any other data flowing together. So that is the vision that Audinate started, building and improving every day more the Dante technology. Dante has already been adopted by many manufacturers because Dante offers interoperability. And if this term is not yet very clear to you, we will go step by step to teach you why this solution makes all the brands communicate together, okay? So, Dante technology is actually for manufacturers and also for end users. So here on the top of my screen, you can see one of our modules. So this is of course nothing for the end users. This is one of the modules that will bring digital audio from one side and send network packets or Ethernet packets that we will be seeing later on as well. So this and other modules are adopted by manufacturers such as Shure, one of the greatest companies in the audio industry, and they insert these pieces here to their products. For the end customers, for the professionals, for the sound engineers, for the AV engineers, we develop a lot of audio interfaces, so user interfaces such as the Dante controller, some other software that can bring your computer to the Dante network, such as Dante Virtual Sound Card and Dante Via. So I'm reading all these bullets here and trying to show you the screenshots. More recently, we developed some adapters, which is this device here. And we do have several options for these, such as analog inputs, as the picture is showing, analog outputs, Bluetooth inputs, USB outputs, AES3 ins and outs. So if you are more curious about these guys here, see how they are spelled, the AVIO, so audio-visual ins and outs, pretty much, adapters. You can type in on your Google bar and you will find lots more about this. And lately, last year, we developed and we are improving every day more the Dante Domain Manager, which is a super useful tool for when your Dante networks will become bigger and bigger and bigger. And then they will need more security, control, and a lot more features. All these products and all these technologies, so to say, are available on our website. And basically, Dante Controller is a free software that you can download right now. Dante Via and Dante Sound Card are two software that are sold in a bundle as well, and also the Avio adapters, they are also sold online in several retailers that you can probably find close to you. Moving on, there is a very interesting sentence that I like to read and point out that defines the Dante technology pretty well. Okay, so Dante, guys, is a hardware and software solution. So this is whatever you think that the manufacturers adopt, those Avio adapters that I've just shown you, and software, as I told, the Dante controller and other software, that transports precisely timed digital audio between standard IP network devices. So what I'm talking about here is that what Dante does for us is transport of a high, super quality, uncompressed audio that can go up to 32 bits, 192 kilohertz. So imagine it's a whole massive audio quality going through normal networks. So probably the same devices that you have at your house, the router that is providing the Wi-Fi for your connection right now, could also be transferring and transporting audio. And I'm not talking about compressed MP3 audio or VoIP quality. I'm talking about super high-end professional audio, uncompressed, up to 32-bit, 192 kilohertz. Okay, so try to see Dante as a hardware and software solution that sends and receives high-quality audio between standard networks. Cool. So the Dante adoption is actually what makes us very proud, and pretty much the reason why Shure has invited me to be here today is because more than 450 manufacturers in all the AV verticals. So think about mixers, microphones, amplifiers, speakers, matrix, DSP, DI boxes, stage boxes, also video controlled devices such as PTZ cameras, and more devices are being using the Dante technology. So to this date, we have actually listed on the audinate.com website more than 2,500 products that are Dante compatible. So when I tell you this, think about all the manufacturers, or almost all of them, being able to communicate. So you no longer have to think of compatibility. You just buy a Shure product that is a Dante device, so that Dante logo should be written somewhere in the product. And if you have any other product from any other manufacturer that is also a Dante device, those two devices and many more will be able to communicate. And for this presenter's pride, more than 1 million Dante products have already been sold, and you will probably find most of these on your live sound PAs, on your pro audio installations, on your broadcast studios, and pretty much we are always moving towards the home studio facilities as well. So from very small to very large enterprise size situations, Dante is present, facilitating interoperability between various brands. All right? So moving on, guys, what I would like to show you is some examples of Dante devices. So here you have, for example, I would like to invite our colleagues at Shure to talk about one of the best sellers in the market. Right here in the middle is the MXA 910. Fali or Devraj, do you want to talk a little bit about this wonderful ceiling microphone here, how it works and how it operates?
Yeah, why not? Fali, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, I'll go ahead with the Axin Digital and with the ULXD. So, guys, the Axin Digital system is probably one of the best digital wireless RF systems out there in the market, and we're happy to have Dante connectivity on the devices as well. And what does that mean? Means supposing you have a vast number of channels, you can get all those channels into your Dante network over one Cat5 cable. So gone are the days of 32 channel snakes, and checking every analog line is good. Gone are the days of in case you need to run extremely long analog lines, and then figure out at a certain point that you're picking up hums and buzzes and stuff like that. So it's as easy as connecting the device into your network, connecting it into your laptop, and opening up either if you're working on a laptop for recording something like Dante Virtual Sound Card, just bring in all the channels. Otherwise, integrated straight into the various consoles that we have down here. So we've got a CL5, the SSL, the Allen and Heath consoles, Behringer as well, I believe. Makes for a very seamless and fast integration of the system. Now, one of the other points that I really like to note is, like you guys to note, is that with these devices connected to your console, you actually have control of certain parameters of the receiver directly from the console. Now, that is that's insane. So you can actually control things like receiver gain. You can have a look at how much battery is left, crazy things like that, and sitting at your console. The ULXD and the MXA 910, I'll let Devraj take over. These are products that you see very commonly in large installations. So yeah, over to you, Devraj.
Yeah, thanks, guys. So quickly, about the MXA 910, it's a ceiling array microphone designed to be in conference or meeting spaces. Basically. Okay, I'll just start my video so that you guys can see me. Yep. Okay, So basically, the MXA910 is a networked ceiling array microphone designed for large spaces, which makes it much easier to have a non-conventional approach of miking a meeting space. It has been designed for, like I said, the closed meeting spaces, but has been used in a lot of pro situations. Fali, if you get time, maybe we can mention those as well. But that's about the MXA910, and about the wireless microphones, the ULXDs. These are digital wireless microphones, again designed for large spaces. These are UHF-based wireless microphones, but they not only come with the standard form factors of body pack or handle, they also have the boundary microphone form factors, which can again be used in the AV conferencing environments. And having Dante enabled on both these products makes it much easier to route audio over the network using a single cable. So that is basically the key advantage that having a Dante compatible hardware brings into a solution to make life much easier when it comes to routing of audio. Over to you guys.
Yeah.
Cool.
Guys, just a quick example of what we have coming up as far as the Axin Digital, and especially in Mumbai. So a very large auditorium that we have coming up in Mumbai has a supremely large inventory of Axin Digital. It is all Dante. It is all networked. There's not a single analog cable going anywhere. And we are spanning probably 25 or 30,000 square feet only on network. So we find that quite fascinating. That's once this lockdown gets over, that's the first project I'll be in to get that place commissioned. So really looking forward to that one.
Me too. Actually, this makes me as an AVOIP, so I'm kind of the networked audiovisual engineer. Just hearing you say the word no analog at all makes me shine. Another one that it's also my best friend here for my conferences as well is the MXA 310, which I am very proud to have one. It's exactly sitting on my desk here. This is a great desktop microphone, and as you can see, just one single Cat5e cable is providing the power to the device and also sending out all the 4 microphones differently, separately, and another auto mixed feed summing all of these, plus a lot of features. So I just want to try and bring from the large mixers, from the more expensive devices to the simpler and smaller and even more affordable devices. All of these products can interoperate through the Dante network. Okay, so let's think about why and how we got to this solution. So follow me into this part here. Guys, a brief story of, digital audio networks. Once in the past, we were trying to understand why should we migrate from analog to digital. Is it just about the sound quality? Actually, there's more to that. If you are musicians as I am, you remember some like electronic keyboards where you would need to wait maybe 1 minute for a new timbre to load in from, sometimes it was a floppy disk or something like that. So digital audio for musical purposes has been incredible. Also in the editing part, we now have the famous and beloved undo. Without digital audio, we would never be able to control Z all our bad takes, or even to overdub stuff like unendlessly. Portability and convenience. Who remembers the first iPod or the first portable digital audio player? You could travel around with all your Elvis Presley or any kind of discography and all the albums of your favorite musicians and idols. And in the pro side, think about how fast and scalable and compact a digital audio mixing console became. Once you would have to have a big, huge, massive and heavy rack with compressors, equalizers, limiters and stuff, and now you can only travel with your digital mixer and it will do all the job for you. So quickly, Before digital, what we used to have, and I really hope most of you know what I'm talking about, a point-to-point analog multi-core cable like this one you're seeing here. So everybody that would come on that patch bay, or in Brazil we call this a medusa, or various names in various countries. So everything that you would plug in there would come from just one cable. Of course, it's a heavy, gets dirty, and also if something bad happens and you need to find out, you would pretty much obstacle all the entire process. You will need to find out where the problem is. Rewiring one of these medusas is not nice. So this was very fast changed to digital point-to-point multi-core. So let's see how this happened actually. So once you would have your analog multi-core, think about how thick this cable used to be under the mud or somewhere in your festival, bringing each of those channels back to the analog mixer. Then the digital snake started to exist, but it's still a point-to-point solution. So what is actually happening right here is that on that stage box, there is an AD converter for each of those signals. So they are sending a point-to-point digitalized signal of the analog XLR or TRS cabling that you are inserting that. In the other end, there would be a digital to analog converter providing then all those signals back to your front of house mixer, and then some manufacturers would do this multiplexing of the digital audio in a way, some others would do in another way, so there was not exactly what we could call a compatibility. So sometimes you would need to stick with a brand, and sometimes your already purchased gear would not talk to the other one that you need. So still an interesting solution, but not the best solution. And what really changed from the analog multi-core to the digital multi-core is just the cable caliber or the gauge. So you're still having a one-to-one, just like a linear idea. Okay. So from the digital snake, that was the one that we've just seen, to the Dante network, we do have some similarities, or we do share some things. So we use Ethernet cables, Cat5e or better, and we are passing digital audio uncompressed. However, Dante brings to the table a lot more features. For example, Mac and PC integration, something that has never happened before in the audio industry. Also, virtually unlimited splits. You can send the same signal uncompressed, high quality, everywhere if you want. Every single device can have a split of your vocalist microphone, or you can create sub-mixes and send to the recording engineer, to the video room, to your directors, to your VIP area. Unlimited splits. Pretty much a cool feature when you think about a broadcast studio or a big festival where a lot of OB trucks would be coming around. Everybody wants to do their own different mix. One is a streaming mix, another one is a 5.1 mix, etc., etc. Expandable capacity. So think about that. Once you are using Dante, you can keep on purchasing new Dante gear from any manufacturer, and they will always talk to each other. So this is a future-proof advantage that the Dante networks bring to the market. And most of all, you can always think that if you buy a Dante device today, and I am always trying to put the economical side of it, in 10 years you will still be able to sell that with a very decent price, because the technology will never become obsolete. Moving on, guys, look at how a Dante network can evolve. So right here, what you're seeing is the same stage, the same festival. However, right there on the stage, behind John Lennon and Paul McCartney right there, what you have is a Dante stage box. that can be from any brand. That Dante stage box is sending all the channels, like up to 512 channels, through one single Cat5e cable to the main mixer, the front of house mixer, to another recording engineer. But then your system will evolve to something more like this, with lots more of people needing your tracks. So for example, now in this system here, you have the drummer. Because I'm a drummer, I know that the backing tracks normally are triggered by the drummer. So the drummer is using this MacBook or a Windows laptop or any Dante-enabled computer to send the VST, the virtual instruments, the backing tracks or something for him and for the other musicians. Those backing tracks plus the live instruments are being sent all over the place to the front of house mixer, to the monitor mixer. If you can see right there behind Paul McCartney and John Lennon, there is our once used to be the front of house mixer, but now with the evolution, that one became our monitor mixer. The same, all 512 channels can be sent to the video team right down there, so everybody can do their own mix, or even for the VIP area, for the recording engineer, and so on. So it's unlimited splits when you are on a Dante network. All of these channels being sent up to 32-bit 192 kilohertz. So it's a super great quality for any live and post-production applications as well. Moving on, guys, I would really like you to remember that we use digital audio networks, okay? We are choosing to migrate the entire market for a digital audio network environment because it really enables us to do things we couldn't even imagine before, all right? So to be really fair, there have been other technologies that try to do digital audio networks, and if you are already familiar with some of these, I will show you the differences in what makes Dante the faster and the best solution. So if we were to compare Dante with, for example, CobraNet, okay, so I hope that some of you have already seen this CobraNet symbol in some devices, or MADI, or Ether sound, but this graph here shows us the amount of channel limitations that each of these legacy audio over IP systems use to imprint, to impress on their own system. So for example, where CobraNet had a limitation of only 32 by 32 channels, Dante has pretty much a limitation of 512 per 512 channels, so in and out, on each link. So what I'm telling you here is that once we get into a network, it doesn't matter where you are, and it doesn't matter what kind of device you are. If your Dante device, if the module that the manufacturer has chosen to insert inside of that device is a big module that accepts 512 per 512, that means that that device can receive and send 512 channels to anywhere. So imagine if I know that this may sound a huge, massive system, but think about a university where you have different campus, a lot of classrooms in each campus, and then you have a paging system, and then you have an alarm system, then maybe you have a background music system, then maybe you have some automatic announcements, or a supermarket, or a shopping center, or even a big festival with 3-4 stages. I was very lucky to work in Rock in Rio when I was still working for TV Globo in Brazil. So I was kind of the liaison between Red Hot Chili Peppers, Deftones, Silverchair, and other rock and roll and thrash metal bands that I really like with the Brazilian crowd. So those 128 channels of each band were sent to the recording team, to the video team, and so on. So once you adopt the Dante solution to your system, you can really scale very fast and seamlessly with no other things to care about. Audinate takes care of this miracle for all of us. Okay, let's have a look at how other stuff can happen inside the Dante network. So guys, if you look at this and think that even a large mixing console, I'm here on the third bullet here, okay, so even a large mixing console with 64 channels in and out is not even close to the maximum limitation of this. So once you adopt the Dante solution, you have super ultra future-proof, expandable, scalable, how can you say, headroom. You can still grow even if you are already working with a big large mixing console. Okay, so this image here talks about two things actually. The same way as we would have in an orchestra, you know, the best violin player, the best tuba player, the best piano player, if they're each of them playing without control, they would be a whole complete mess. So what Dante brings to the market is that each manufacturer can be the best on what they do. For example, it's pretty much, you know, there's no doubt that Shure is the best microphone manufacturer all over the world with a great history. I myself have a lot of Shure microphones here in my studio as well. So we are allowing each manufacturer to produce their best and talk to the other manufacturer that is the best on amplifiers and to the other manufacturer that is the best in speakers or stuff like this. So think about Dante as this maestro that can build the best orchestra, bringing the best players to sound great. Okay? Cool. Let's talk about open standards very briefly. If you guys have already heard about AES 67 or SMPTE 2110, these are other ways of transferring audio and video through networks. AES is from the Audio Engineering Society, SMPT is from the Broadcaster Society, and these two societies are a non-profit organization. So they create some kind of recipes that allow manufacturers. So you may find some products over there that have AES 67 connections or SMPTE 2110. So what we did is that we made Dante compatible to these two other open standards protocols through what we call our Dante Domain Manager. So Dante Domain Manager is a kind of a supervisor, a way to control all your network within the Dante devices and other open standards as well, making them interoperable as well. Maybe this topic here is something that I just want to mention, and if you really want to know how Dante is compatible with other open standards, just visit audinate.com and there's lots and lots of white paper explaining you step by step. There's also another on-demand webinar that you can watch that talks only about this. But for today, what I really want you to memorize is that yes, we are compatible with open standards, okay? Cool. So let's just put some concepts here. In a network, guys, we're all connected. That's why pretty much I'm here in the UK right now talking to you real time and you are in India. In the network, everybody has a voice and all the voices can be heard. So this is the principle why we agree that a network environment is way better than a point-to-point. So with this concept in mind, think about how many applications you will have. All right, how was a system connected before Dante? look at how many different kinds of cables you used to have. Okay, I am talking right now to you, professional AV engineer that has used other ways of interconnecting devices. So if you know what clocking is, you remember that we used to have a proper BNC clocking cable that would connect an external clocking hardware to all of our devices. If you know what SPDIF is, or if you have ever used those optical red lights kind of cable, you remember that those cables have an 8-channel limitation. And they need to be cleaned. If there's some dust on those connectors, you may lose some audio. If you know what jitter is, and if you know what glitch is, the only thing I can tell you is that Dante has solved all those problems by simply creating one singular way of connecting everyone. So right here you can see how an old digital system would look like. You have one kind of cable connecting the mixer to your recording station, another kind of cable connecting the stage boxes to the mixer, another kind of cable connecting your external hardware clock down there on your lower left part of the screen, connecting all of these devices and keeping the beat, keeping the sync of all of them. Let's see how the same thing would look like with a Dante system. First of all, you don't need an external hardware to provide clocking. Our Dante network does all the synchronism for you for free. It's pretty much the best investment you could ever do. Also because if you have already used an external hardware clock, those devices have a limitation of how many other devices can be slave to their clocking. Here, what you see is the same cable. Actually, I put it on red just to match my t-shirt, but normally Cat5e cables are either orange or blue. If you have never seen a Cat5 cable in your life, here it is. I introduce you to the future of communication. This is pretty much what you can spend the less. Cat5e or better cables are $2, $3, $5 a meter, whereas an analog balanced or a TRS cable or a BNC cable, these are more expensive cables. And with this single cable, you can send audio, synchronism data, control data, and even more and more data information can be navigating on the same network at the same time. So Dante is pretty much a kind of a neutral technology that can be implemented on an already existing infrastructure. Maybe you are from the higher education AV industry. So the same infrastructure that is already in that university, that is being used to send Google, Wikipedia and stuff, can send audio. If you are on a live PA environment and you used to provide wireless access or internet access to your artists or to yourself, that same router can send and receive audio. So let's have a look at how this would look inside a Dante network. Same cable. You are pretty much saving money and time, also in terms of how to organize those cables. So as long as you only have one kind of cable, it doesn't matter where it goes. It's the same kind of cable. It's the same cable that is connecting your mixer to your recording station, your mixer to your stage box, and if somebody else needs a feed of those channels, they only need the same cable. If you guys are familiar with what a switch is, that is the hardware that we're looking on the lower part of the screen. And if you guys have never seen this, I do have two here on my desk, which are from one manufacturer, but basically the Dante network could use any kind of switch manufacturer. So maybe the most common are Cisco, HP, Netgear, Luminex, Juniper, All these brands will allow a Dante audio network to go through those Cat5e RJ45 ports. So it doesn't matter what kind of hardware you're using. Buy the one that you want. If you are using in a very small system, you can buy those switches that have only 4 ports. So 4 ports would be stage box, mixer, amplifier, and you're done. If you are working on a big system, you may need bigger ones. So there are switches that have also 48, 56 ports that are stackable switches that you can keep on adding more and more ports, interconnecting them. So basically what I would like you to memorize from this is Dante works perfectly with any kind of switch. However, there have been some switches that haven't behaved nicely. So on our website, audinate.com, there is a blacklist of maybe 40, 50 models. We're not blaming the manufacturers, just that some models haven't behaved as we would expect. So if you are thinking about buying a new switch for your Dante network, visit our website, audinate.com, and just check that you are not buying those black sheeps, okay? But besides everything, you can start a smaller environment with a smaller switch and keep on scaling up to a bigger environment, a bigger system, just by changing the switch. All your Dante devices will still work the same, okay? Cool, guys. Let's have a look at a little bit more information, and then I think we can open for questions only onto this kind of a live sound festival idea. Here is an example of a bigger Dante network. So as I said, this is my Rock in Rio kind of simulation here. I have stages A, B, and C, and then we have the broadcast truck coming around. Each stage will have a switch, so you can see here inside these red squares. So each specific Dante system will need a switch to interconnect all the devices. And then a bigger switch will interconnect all these stages and be able to send all these feeds, all the multi-track, uncompressed audio to our broadcast truck. So think about this. You could have like 3 or more different companies. As long as they're all working with Dante devices, they can send all those tracks anywhere. You may have a company specifically doing the bigger stages. You may have another company doing the smaller stages. But then the broadcast truck or whoever will want all those feeds. So as long as you're working with a Dante network, you are fine. Okay, so have a look at this picture and think about your application. Maybe your application is different. So try to be creative and put yourself onto such a similar networking situation and see how efficient and fast and optimized you could get. All right, cool. I am now almost done here. I just want to see if somebody has any specific questions about this, and then we can go to the Pro AV, the kind of more installed market. Fali, do you want to comment something right here?
Yep, I'm going to just present something really small as per a Dante-based application that we did in Mumbai. Okay. Just got a few slides. I'm going to turn on my video.
I'll take the chance here to answer some of the questions on the chat, all right?
Yep. So there was one question, is it recommended to have a gigabit switch when you're using Dante?
That's a good question. That's from our friend Beethoven Fernandez. My God, you are like the master of composition with a very Latin surname. I hope we can speak together. I hope we can meet and play one day. So Beethoven, yes, we as a manufacturer, we recommend a gigabit switch so you can run all those 512 channels in and out. However, if you may encounter in your system a smaller switch like a 100 meg per second, it's not a problem. That just means that on that switch, a maximum of 64 channels in, 64 channels out would be able to be transported. So imagine that big picture. Actually, I can also bring it back here so you can have a look. So this picture here was showing us 3 stages plus an OB truck. Let's say you have the main act. I recommend you use a proper 1 gigabit switch for the main act. And let's say you have that kind of open mic stage or the emergent artist that you will only need to send 64 channels. That will be more than enough for you. So in that smaller environment, you could use a smaller switch. And then from that smaller switch, you would send to the bigger switch and make all of your 64 channels available everywhere. Okay? Hopefully I have answered your question. Any other questions, Fali?
Yep. So there's a question regarding using Dante for studio environments and particularly for music studios. So I have seen a few of these Dante-enabled preamps. You want to tell us something about those? I know Neve makes one of them, if I'm not mistaken.
Ooh, many more. Even if I love Mr. Neve, I love the way that Rupert Neve has. I think he became the Pope. You know, he became the Lord of the Rings of analog stuff. So let's talk about studio environments, okay? Studio environments, you normally need multiple rooms, okay? So you need a control room as this one that I'm here. You need a recording room as the one that I have right behind the camera, where I have a little bit more space that for some like mini chamber choir or a symphonic orchestra or a drummer with percussion. And then you maybe need a vocal booth, smaller, more present in another place. You could easily integrate all these rooms, making all of them in and out by using Dante. And I just want to mention to you, so I'm seeing that this question came from Atarva Dangri. So Atarva, for you to start building a studio or to upgrade your studio to the next level of AV over IP solution, think about what we are going right now. With lockdown, with people not being able to come closer to each other. So maybe you will need to create an external room in your studio to bring another possibility of maybe the bass players in one room, the drummers in another room, the guitar players in another room. Who knows? You know, you will think about the application. With Dante, you can easily have a mic preamp, as Fali has been kind enough to remember us about the Neve ones. But if you go to our website, audinate.com, there is a filter there under the products section that you can filter exactly by the kind of device that you want to find. If you want to find a preamp, just filter preamp. If you want to find a stage box, the same, and so on. So you could have multiple rooms sending and receiving audio with pretty much no latency at all. With a small system like you would have in your studio, the latency is 150 microseconds. So imagine what a millisecond is, divide that per 1,000, and pick the blink of an eye of whatever, a hummingbird wing flap, kind of velocity speed of your latency in and out. So it's a round trip of 150 microseconds for a studio environment. Here in my studio, I have part of my gear connected straight to my audio interface right here. But I'll tell you a secret. I have a kind of a corridor in my house here, which is a 10-meter corridor. Okay, kind of a hallway between all the rooms. So sometimes I want to create my own echo or reverberation chamber. So what I do is I wire with a Cat 5e cable an active speaker right on the other side of my hall, and I wire a microphone with a Dante preamp in this side. So I have a 10 meters distance from my mic. I use a cardioid, or sometimes I use an Omni, and I am sending just a snare feed on this active speaker in the other end of my corridor, creating a kind of a natural. So I can brag that I have my own analog reverb chamber here. And many more. So if you're interested, actually send me an email, and this goes for everybody. If you want to discuss more specific things, I'm very happy to guide you through. Any more questions, Fali?
Yeah, there's a question on basically like you just said. So, can the Dante network be used just to move audio from one place to another place? I think that's the real powerful thing behind it, that you can just move audio very easily.
And I'm just seeing here that somebody, so this is Viraj Dalvi. So
Yeah.
Viraj, if you want to know more about distances, the only thing I can tell you is have a look at fiber optic cables. Okay, so yes, these copper cables, they have a maximum distance, a safe distance of 100 meters. What kind of measures do you use in India? Is that meters or feet?
Yeah, we're doing we do meters.
Meters. Oh, thank you, Lord. I can't live in this country here because they measure everything in imperial units, and it's
No, if it's to do on a stage, then we'll say yeah, the stage size is 60 by 40. But if it has to do running PA cables and stuff like that, then it's meters.
interesting. So you are better than me because you know all the two metrical units and imperial units like in a click. So I'll tell you, Viraj, and for everybody interested in distances, fiber optics are virtually unlimited. We know about systems that run fiber optics throughout kilometers and even throughout like connecting two different cities. So think about your, I don't know, I'll just say the cities that I know. If you have a stage in New Delhi and you want to send all those audio feeds to another city close to that, as long as you have fiber cable connecting those two places, you could go kilometers or miles away. Okay, so if you want to know more about this, I suggest actually to everybody to visit our certification portal, which is audinate.com/certify, and then you will learn everything you need to know to run smaller, medium, and big Dante systems. Over to you, Fali. I want to see your slides now.
Awesome. So, all right. So, guys, we did a little event in Mumbai last year, which was the Red Bull breakdancing finale. And so this made, I was mixing broadcast on this, and it was a through and through Dante setup. So, just to give you an idea of how powerful this system can actually be. Um, All right, so it was done at the NSCI Dome. That's in Mumbai. So about 5 to 7,000 capacity was the seating capacity for the place. And for this one, there was a lot of importance given to the audience microphones, and we either had a choice of putting 30 audience mics in the air and then rigging analog cable everywhere, or the second option was to use Shure's MXA 910, which is a Dante enabled speaker, a Dante enabled microphone. It is not meant for this application. It is actually meant for a corporate boardroom, but just because of the ease of use and the Dante connectivity is why we ended up using it for this project. So yeah, the audience sound had to take precedence. And I first saw this being used at a music festival called Rock in Rio that happens, and it was being used as the audience capture mic. So that's where I got the idea. So if you have a look at this picture, the little circles that are here, so there are two MXA 910s here. So one on this side, one on this side. They are all power over Ethernet. And the consoles that we were using is we had three CL5 Yamaha CL5 consoles. So one for front of house, one for monitors, and one for me mixing broadcast. So all our Axiom Digital inventory, I believe there were 24 channels of Axiom Digital along with the microphones, everything on the Dante network, all running digital. Here's another picture of it. So again, used to capture audience sound and audience interaction. Few pictures about the setup. And yeah, this was the entire kit list. So yeah, it was three Yamaha consoles, 16 channels of Axiom Digital is right, three MXA 910s, some PSM 1000, various kit here. And the thing is, I've used Dante off and on. We use for PLM amplification into Adamson quite regularly, but I've never used it on such a large scale, and I must say um, it was crazy how easy the setup and easy and straightforward the setup was. And you don't have to worry about hums and buzzes from analog cables that might be like 50 feet in the air. Can you imagine if one of those cables started giving you some noise? You'd have to send someone up onto the catwalk, change that analog cable. It's too much work. So this solution basically proved really, really very, very worthwhile for the situation. So there, everything, all the channels coming into a CL5 console. There you go. That the little sheet up here is the entire Dante patch that we had. So I had it with me during the rehearsal. So this is one of the applications that we used, and it was a very, very useful application.
Impressive. Really cool, man. It's interesting how you managed to have a big stage. So, do you do breakdance as well, Fali?
I wish maybe if I was maybe 50 kilos lighter, I'd probably be able to do some breakdance.
I find it lovely, man. I'm a great fan of, the whole hip hop culture. I think that is literally the empowerment. And just as a side note here, I watch America's Got Talent, and I'm following and I'm rooting for a group that I wouldn't say that they are break dancers. They are like dancers overall. They are contemporary dancers. They are spectacular dancers, and they are called The Unbeatable. And
Right.
and I'm quite sure they are from India, and I root for them so much. They have so much, true passion on it. So it's kind of a great pleasure to meet you and know that you were there, flying the faders for such a movement. Cool. So I think we can go on. I know that we are almost at the end of our presentation. The next part of this is how to think about the Dante systems into the more installation, AV, commercial stuff. So maybe I'll have also Devraj here chiming in so we can cover the more about the pro side, not the live, but the commercial AV install side. So I separated some slides for us here. This one here, it's actually showing the differences from kind of a analog audio system and now how a professional networked audio system would look like in a conference room, or you could also look at this as a classroom. It's not necessarily one thing or the other. Just think about this. So the first thing you can see is that we have the microphones. Luckily, one of those 910 of Shure MXA 910 here on the ceiling, with a great technology that is focusing and aiming the capsules specifically to who is speaking. And this is so interesting because they have artificial intelligence. So if somebody stands up, the microphone corrects the beam itself. We would have lots of well-positioned speakers. So you have something here in the back, two here close to the screen to spread the audio and keep lower volume. So what you never want in such an environment is two or just one speaker very loud in just one corner. So with a system like this, you would have great quality overall. All cables are the same. So pretty much all the cables going from the mic to the switch, from the switch to the speaker, and so on are the same. You would have the participants very close to the microphone, and actually the speakers also well positioned off axis here, as we say. Okay, and pretty much, and I want Devraj to maybe mention and bring the IMX room idea here, you would have so much control of the audio all in one solution with your own computer. Please, Devra, all to you.
Yeah, why not, guys? So, like Gus mentioned, bringing it on the network makes life much easier. Not only on the physical connections, but also on where you can place the microphone and make it more comfortable or make it more ergonomic. So you saw the ceiling array solution, the 910. We actually launched the new versions of the array microphones, or the linear array microphones. And actually, you guys are listening me through one of the linear array ones and through the Intel MX. So I've joined this call using the new software DSP. So basically, I don't have a rack. I have microphones to capture me, and it all gets processed over a DSP, which is installed on a Windows 10 machine, and it's the same Windows 10 machine which is connected over Zoom on this call. So that's basically how easy audio can be made with all these recent developments in technology. How we can bring different kind of microphone form factors, and how it can be brought in on an IT or a very compact mechanism, and have as much fun, right? So that's basically, I just wanted to chime in. I basically thought that it would be best to give you that experience. I actually can just change my background and actually show you guys. Yeah, it's my home setup. So what you guys are hearing me is through a microphone like that. That is the array microphone I was talking about. So it's installed on the wall, and that's the new gen array microphone. Wow. So yeah, so that's the new brother of the MXA 910, the 710, which basically gives you more flexibility of placing the microphone. So either it was the table or the ceiling first, but now you can put it on a wall as well.
That's news for me as well. I didn't know about this is the 710.
Yep. It just got launched at Infocom.
Aha, guys, you catch me there, because first of all, no needs to tell again that I'm a fan of Shure, but I mean, every manufacturer brings their best into the Dante network, and as long as you guys down there watching this webinar are thinking about purchasing something, or speccing a new system, or if you're sound engineers, you want to do your rider, you want to do your input list, think that every single piece should be from the best manufacturer that does that kind of product, but pretty much all of these guys should be Dante devices. So you have such a facility. And I'm glad that you are releasing on this webinar as well. For me, I'll be checking out the MXA 710 later on today. Cool. So maybe we are already getting to the finish of this presentation. Let's run the last slide, and then I'll be open as well for questions. So guys, think about that same system, using now the MXA 710, the 910, the 310, and a lot more of other Dante products. When you get big, and this could also be a lot of stages, a lot of classrooms, think about the application that suits you best. What we as a brand, what Audinate brought to the market is the Dante Domain Manager. So Dante Domain Manager will probably make your life easier, and whoever else is going to be dealing with that system as well. So Dante Domain Manager is a server platform that can be anywhere in the building. Maybe you have the so-called freezer with all those servers, and you will install Dante Domain Manager there From Dante Domain Manager, you will monitor and have access to all the configurations of all the Dante devices in the network. So you could control all the Shure microphones and any other manufacturer's devices that are, of course, Dante from the single platform called DDM or Dante Domain Manager. Another feature is that Dante Domain Manager helps you to create what we call domains, which are groups, combination of devices that will have to do just with each other. So these domains could be room A, room B, room C, room D, could be stage A, B, C, etc. So that will protect those devices, making sure that nobody else could touch and do connections or break connections with those devices. When you get big, and I hope all of us here will get back to the market soon and increase our systems, increase our stages, when you will have lots of stages, lots of rooms, the last thing you want is people messing around with your connections. And thankfully, Dante is becoming so popular that people, even the badly intentioned people, they know about Dante. So the last thing you want is somebody with a nefarious soul, coming up to your stage with his computer, with Dante controller installed, hacking your network and messing around. So please, if you guys are in the level that your systems need security, control, a lot of other features in terms of email alerts. So if you are the manager of a university and you, for some reason, cannot be there at all times, you could receive an email alert that something in the room B with the device XYZ is happening. So you could receive a whole report of your system on your email, on your cell phone. Then you will know exactly what is your engineer that you're going to be sending there with what kind of replacement device. So this webinar here is just to mention that on top of all the Dante networks, be them for a commercial AV, conferencing, live sound, or any application, on top of all your Dante networks, we developed the Dante Domain Manager to make sure that everything is round and perfect for you. Okay, guys, so with this, we've finished our part. I am very, very happy to having been here with you this morning. And I now remain available if somebody else has any questions. If Devraj, Fali, if you want to chime in.
Thanks, Gus. Thanks very much. I certainly learned a lot about this and definitely looking to implement more Dante in some of the setups, specifically the live sound setups, that we are engaged with. So certainly looking forward to that. Guys, if there are anyone that has more questions for Gus, please feel free to ask. And if you have if you want to have more discussion with Gus, please note his email ID. And you can also head to the www.ordinate.com//certify to complete various Dante courses. So I'll stand by.
Sorry, keep on.
No, I was saying I'll stand by for a few questions.
Yeah, I also typed in here on the chat my email if you just want to copy and paste that. I would also be very, very happy if you guys go through the certification. Once more, is a free certification course, levels 1 and 2 and 3. So just to break down very quickly for you, level 1 is pretty much a user level where you are going to be learning a little bit more about the Dante technology and how to operate it from the Dante controller point of view. Level 2 is for the people who are designing systems, not only commercial AV installed systems, but also the sound engineers that need to make the decisions for a live sound system, a pop-up event, or a broadcast system. Doesn't matter. Wherever audio is present, Dante could also be present. So level 2 will help you understand how this process of designing a system could be done. And the level 3 is more for those professionals who are systems engineers and also managers of the whole network. So basically level 1 is a simple approach, level 2 is more of an intermediate, and naturally level 3 is that advanced knowledge pack that you need to know, not only to know how to implement your systems, but also how to talk with IT professionals. So we are kind of the AV company bringing the lexicon for our audiovisual professionals to know what to say and what to understand from the IT sector of the industry as well. So here you see my email, augusto.marcondes@audinate.com. You can also reach out via LinkedIn or Facebook. You will find me pretty much in these two social media. I'm always trying to be as close as possible with our Dante users all over the world. Thank you very much, Fali and Devraj. Hope to see you personally soon.
Definitely. Take care, guys. Thanks everyone for joining, and we will see you all shortly on the next webinar.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you
Ciao,
very
ciao.
much. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.